Let me first start by asking each of you what has been your key reflections, hearing from some of the sector-specific case studies that we heard today, also from some of the state-specific case studies, and what does it mean for Sri Lanka?
So one of the area is that we need to improve our procedures, and also we need to introduce necessary regulations for this area. And government is working on this area. That's why we are in the process of introducing this necessary legal framework and also introducing of regulations. The other thing is we need not to write most of the panelists and also presenters highlighted that there are best practices. So we need not to reinvent those best practices. We can implement while carefully evaluate those best practices to match with our requirement. So the other point, and also the requirement of capacity enhancement for the institutes or the stakeholders who are working with us.
Being a developing country, it's not magic. It's very easy to understand that we do not have enough money in the kitty to develop for our development needs, both social infrastructure as well as public infrastructure, or physical infrastructure rather. And no longer are the multilateral development banks capable of funding the development needs of all the developing countries. Again, easy science. We have about 198 countries in the UN system. About 65% of them are considered developing or least developed. So basically, we try to manage our affairs mainly with contributions given by about 30% of the countries in the world to these multilateral development banks. And most of that money goes to social development activities. So when it comes to physical development, there isn't much money available, which is why in the 1980s, like banks like the ADB and the World Bank took the lead in trying to invite the private sector to play a significant role in physical infrastructure development, in countries. So we need to piggyback on this issue. And so I would say, as a concluding remark, if we need to desperately put our house in order, and if we do that, certainly, we can go ahead.
ADB experience shows that PPPs have been pivotal in transforming Colombo port into a regional transshipment hub. And we've heard from Mr. Romesh David that the example of South Asia Gateway Terminal, but also the South Container Terminal, these were PPPs that were well structured. And because of that, we saw private investment flow in, infrastructure delivered on time. We saw operational standards raised to international levels. So this is really the success story. But again, another speaker mentioned that we need to focus also on failures where PPPs have not worked well. And again, focusing on port sector, the story is not just about successes. There is the case of this East Container Terminal in Colombo Port, as you know, that was initially planned as PPP, but then after 2016, the development shifted back to the public sector. It resulted in delays, underutilization, etc. So lessons learned from this sector, specific sector, from port sector, is that full benefits of PPPs are only realized when roles and responsibilities are clearly defined. And on top of that, institutional governance evolves in step with infrastructure development. So, if I need to take one takeaway from discussions we've heard during the forum is clarity and commitment.